Hello, buddy, and welcome back to Red Devils TV. Now I'm joined by a very special guest today called Ben. So, hi, Ben, do you just want to introduce yourself?
Oh, yep. My name's Ben. Do a lot of stats work on Twitter, which is where Dan realised who I was. And then, we came on here, talk about a bit about United and see about who we've been linked to today and contract talks with Dalot finally being done.
Yeah, so thank you for joining me, Ben. But anyway, let's get right into it. So, Manchester United need a striker, as we know, and a new striker that United have been linked to, which we've kind of been on the radar, who's been on our radar now for quite a while, is Dusan Vlahovic, who is obviously a Juventus striker, who's very big, very physical type striker. Not the fastest, but that kind of seems the kind of profile that Erik ten Hag is looking for in his striker. You think back to Sebastian Haller at Ajax, obviously Harry Kane, and now Dusan Vlahovic. Obviously, we do have players like Osimhen, Evan Ferguson that we are linked to as well. But I feel like United are going to be linked to all sorts of type of strikers in this summer because obviously United are desperate in need for a striker. And Dusan Vlahovic, I think, fits that profile. I mean, he's very strong, he's physical, and he does have a good eye for goal. I mean, I'm looking at his stats right here now, and this season he's got a total of 14 goals in all competitions in, from what it seems to be, 40 games. So, Ben, just out of that curiosity, 14 goals in 40 games. What would you say on that? Like, Dusan Vlahovic, he is only, I believe, 23 years old. So, what would you say on that sense? Do you think he can improve a lot considering he's only 23, or would you say that he's the wrong type of profile player we need to be going for right now?
In terms of profile, it's difficult to say because, as you mentioned before, with Sebastian Haller, he was a very much out-and-out striker, pop into him in the box and he'll score goals. Whereas we've seen this season with the likes of Martial playing much better when he's in the side. Ten Hag wants a player that's more versatile and someone that wants to keep hold of the ball, bring players in, which is why we've been so heavily linked with Harry Kane. That's not really what you're going to get with Vlahovic. He's someone that's just going to sit in the box. He's got a great eye for goal, like you said, and he'll get on the end of it. 14 goals in 40 games isn't bad, especially for a Juventus side that's struggled a lot this season. Although they could potentially have finished second or third before the points deduction, it wasn't a pretty second or third, that's for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that sense, pal. I mean, he's played 27 games in the Serie A, so obviously it seems like he's missed a few games in the Serie A as a whole when he got 10 goals and 2 assists. And his XG was 9.7 for the Serie A, so he's just hit just over that criteria, so he's kind of just meeting his XG. And in the Champions League, he and Europa League, he is below on his XG. For the Champions League, it was 2.6 XG for goals, and he only got 1 goal. And then for Europa League, it was 4.1, and he got 3 goals in the Europa League. So with this, obviously, he's just reaching his criteria for the XG, which is kind of disappointing. But I do think that this Vlahovic, from what I have seen of him, he does seem to be a decent striker, and with him only being 23, he will probably be a lot cheaper than Harry Kane and Osimhen. But you know the saying, you get what you pay for. So should Manchester United break the bank for a striker? For me, absolutely. Dusan Vlahovic obviously does seem like a very promising striker, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does go and have a very good career. But I feel like that right now, especially how slow he is, I think it would take him a long time to get used to the Premier League, in my opinion. I feel like that if he does struggle to score goals in this Juventus side and Serie A, you do get a lot of time on the ball. I do feel like he'd struggle a lot in the Premier League. I mean, you look at Scamacca for West Ham, obviously a poor playing side, obviously came from the Serie A last season, and he's not done well for West Ham. So I'd say that if you were going for a Italian league player, I'd say you probably go for more defensive-minded player. I really don't like the look of attackers in the Italian league. Obviously, Osimhen is one that is kind of a diamond in the rough of a rough league. But Osimhen's also a special breed, in my opinion. But what are your thoughts on Osimhen, Ben? Like, obviously, so many people have the debate whether it's Harry Kane or Osimhen. Which side are you on?
Yeah. I've changed sides constantly for the last few weeks because when you look at it in terms of value for money, he's clear of Kane in terms of the fact that we'll have him for probably 10 years. He's got a lot more energy in him. He's got an eye for goal. And as you said before, he stands out in the Serie A. He looks like a Premier League striker. He doesn't look like an Italian league striker because he's just so quick. And the press on the ball, the Liverpool game at the start of the season, the Champions League, he was pressing them to death until, unfortunately, he got his customary yearly injury. And that is one problem with him, is his injury record. Similar with Harry Kane, but his has improved a hell of a lot over the last few years. Osimhen is someone that you can guarantee will score you goals. He's very good with ball to feet. He's very good in the air. He's very good all-round striker. But when you're dealing with Napoli, it's going to be a hefty price tag. And as you said before, it's difficult because there's a lot of players we're going to be linked to this summer, and a lot of them are going to cost a lot of money, especially with our ownership situation. If we do get that eventual takeover, people will see us as a source of a big income because they know we'll have the money to do it. So when you're looking at a striker, you have to piece it into what our budget's going to be and how much we need to improve that area. It's definitely the one that needs improving most. But when we've got so many little areas in the squad that need improving, you need to weigh up your options. So I definitely have Harry Kane and Osimhen as like the top tier, and your likes of your Vlahovic, your Ramoses, your Ferguson's, Højlund just below that. But it's definitely between those two for me.
Yeah, I completely agree with you in that sense. It seems like you've got a few fans in the comments. Ben Simons, Benjamin knows his stuff, my goat. And then you've got Brando, definitely needs to move on from Juventus. And then shout out to my boy Benjamin. So guys, if you are new to this channel, please subscribe. And yeah, Ben, looks like you've got a bit of a fan club here. But
yeah, I told you it's the group chat coming in strong.
So we'll just quickly work on to some stats over the last year of Vlahovic as well.
Yep.
So looking at his stats, it says that per 90 for non-penalty goals is 0.43. His shots on goal per 90 is apparently 3, and his assist is 0.13. So it seems that playmaking wise, he isn't the type of versatile striker that Erik ten Hag is requiring, like we said with Martial and Harry Kane. So he would probably be kind of like how Haaland joined at Man City, where he was obviously you feed him the ball and he'll then score goals. But as we've seen over the season, Haaland's developed into a much more like link-up play type striker. So maybe that could happen with Vlahovic, but again, I would say it's more of a risk than the possible players we could go for. I do like the look of Vlahovic, but I do feel like that I'd much rather go for Kane and Osimhen, like we've already said. But anyway, moving on to the next player, Manuel Ugarte. So, Ben, do you know much about Manuel Ugarte, or do you?
I've seen a fair bit of him when I was watching him in Europe, as well as I've seen a few Portuguese league games, and he's definitely someone that we should be looking at in terms of he's a very high volume passer as well as being very good at winning the ball back. That's something that Casemiro is the only person that fits both of those brackets for us. We've got a lot of players that can win the ball back, and we've got a lot of players in terms of Eriksen who can just keep hold of the ball, but we haven't got enough players that can do both. You're like Van der Beek, who he's going to go because he's decent on the ball, but just can't win it back. Fred is very good at winning the ball back, not very good at distributing it eventually. So we need someone that's going to come in, because we've seen it this season. As soon as Casemiro gets his injury or his suspension, we're just a shell of a side, and the midfield is so different. Ugarte can bring a lot of balance into that side, but he does still. There's a few things in his game that do need improving, but he's only 22. He's got plenty of time to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I just want to quickly ask you about something like this. Do you feel like that if Man United didn't sell James Garner in the summer, do you think that he would have been a brilliant understudy to Casemiro, or do you think that
I've been singing his praises all season, getting my pelters online. I love the guy. He should never have gone, especially not for the price. He was incredible last season in the Championship. It was around 12-14 million, pretty much what the dividends were going to cost for the Glazers, pretty much. So that says a lot, to be fair. But he was incredible last season in the Championship. He definitely deserved a chance at United. He didn't get it in the end because of his injury during pre-season, but he would have definitely done a job. We've had, like I said, Casemiro has been out at times, suspension. He would have played games and he would have looked good. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I'm looking at Urgart's stats here, and he doesn't seem to be a player that scores goals or creates goals. So I can understand that. But he kind of a very sit back while attacking type player. And if you look at his stats, when it comes to goal contributions, it's all in the red zone. But then when it's passes attempted, he's making around 60 passes per 90. His pass completion is over 90%. His progressive passes are nearly 5 per 90. His progressive carries, which needs improving, is 1.2 per 90. And successful take-ons is nearly 2 per 90.
But at the bottom of the stats is what I like the look of, which is successful tackles, which is 90%. So it pretty much that every time he goes for a tackle, it's guaranteed. And speaking of the tackles, he's making nearly it says here 4.63 per 90. So he's not shy of backing out of a challenge, that's for sure. And his interceptions apparently is all over the pitch as well, with making nearly 3 per 90, which is as a percentage of 97. Yeah. So, like I said, he's a very sit back while attacking type defensive mid. And that's kind of interesting, really, because considering Casemiro, we know that Casemiro likes to drive into the box at times. He has scored a few goals for us, hasn't he? Got, is it 14 goal contributions this season with 7
something
goals?
Around that. It's one of his best ever seasons. It's something that we didn't expect him to bring, but he's probably our biggest aerial threat, which is weird to say.
I agree on that. Obviously, you think back to the most recent goal against Bournemouth. Obviously, the last minute equaliser against Chelsea. He's had his moments where he's won us games, and
goal in the League Cup as well, got League Cup final.
Exactly. So with Casemiro, he's absolutely brilliant. And for me, obviously, here's a question for you. So obviously, Marcus Rashford was recently announced Player of the Season. Yep. Do you agree with that, or do you think that someone like Martinez or like Casemiro deserved it more than Rashford? I'm not saying Rashford didn't deserve it, but I personally feel like that more players were more deserving of it.
Yeah, it's tricky. The fact that he won Players Player and Player of the Season, I didn't quite like. I thought that he should have maybe got one of them. But I think the fact that he's been so consistent in terms of he's bailed us out so often, I think that if Casemiro didn't get the 2 red cards and Martinez didn't get his injury, they would have been for a better shout. But the fact that Rashford's been available all season, he scored more goals than anyone by quite a considerable margin and has gained us the most points out of anyone, I think in the end deserves it for his impact. But in terms of consistency, Casemiro and Martinez are probably above him. But in terms of impact, I reckon Rashford's just about there, because if he wasn't scoring, no one was.
Yeah, I completely agree. Obviously, Marcus Rashford was kind of the only player that was actually stepping up. And again, with Bruno Fernandes as well, like people say that he's had a bad season. He's created the most chances out of anyone in the Premier League this season. And
and the most big chances as well.
Yeah, I feel like the reason as well why I think Harry Kane and Bruno will be a better partnership than Osimhen and Bruno is because obviously we know Harry Kane, he likes to drop deep, he helps with the link-up play, and he likes to hold off the ball. You think of his relationship with Bentancur? Bentancur. And obviously Kulusevski, Heung-min Son in previous years. You've seen Harry Kane. Obviously, he's an out-and-out goal scorer, but he also has developed the playmaking in his game as well. And that's
so he's created the most chances for Spurs this season.
Exactly. And the thing is as well, he's scored 30 goals in the Premier League this season.
In the league,
I saw, who was it that put it on Twitter? It might have been someone on Paddock or the United stand. They said something about how Harry Kane scoring 30 goals is more impressive than Erling Haaland scoring 36.
It is arguably, for sure.
Yeah, obviously I feel like Harry Kane is kind of in Haaland's shadow almost. It's a very big shadow because Haaland's absolutely massive. But again, with Harry Kane, obviously he's missed out on 6 goals, but he's had a sensational season, and his XG, I believe, was 20 or 21 goals this season.
It's around there, He's outperforming it by quite a fair bit.
Exactly. So I do feel like that Harry Kane will be brilliant, but with the most recent reports as well, with Daniel Levy, he's apparently saying that he's not going to sell to any Premier League club. So if Harry Kane does want to stay, then he will be staying at Spurs. So I don't know how you feel about that.
It's tricky. Daniel Levy is definitely running Spurs into the ground. Like, the thing is, though, with him, we can hold off a year. It's going to be tough considering the fact that all of our players that are at their peaks, you've got the likes of Casemiro and Varane, who are going to be getting close to their decline at the minute. So we do need some sort of short-term success now, but we can hold out, I reckon, until next year, where Harry Kane only has a year left in his contract, and he's definitely not going to sign a new one. So if we can't get him this summer, it's not going to be great for next season, but there's definitely options out there that can hold us off for a year and then come back in from next season when we can get him for free. So it's one of those things where I think eventually he'll be playing in red, but it's whether it's this year or next year, I'm not sure.
Yeah, let's just hope it's not Bayern Munich. But anyway, we've got some news today with Diogo Dalot. So Diogo Dalot has now gone and signed a new contract till 2028. So I completely forgot that Diogo Dalot was running down his contract a little bit. Obviously, his contract did end. It was supposed to end next year.
Yeah.
But with Diogo Dalot, what are your thoughts on him? Because he's quite a bit of a split opinion in the fan base at the moment with the right back position. Obviously, we've got Wan-Bissaka and Diogo Dalot, two very good right backs. Diogo Dalot was obviously performing sensationally before the World Cup, but then did get injured, and Wan-Bissaka just came in and did an amazing shift, and he's pretty much never left the starting 11.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on this? Because obviously you've got reports that certain teams are interested in Wan-Bissaka. Do you think that we've signed Diogo Dalot on this contract because we're expecting a player like Wan-Bissaka to leave, or do you think it's just to secure him down so no clubs like Real Madrid or any big clubs that come after Diogo Dalot while he's got 1 year left in his contract?
Yeah, well, his contract was meant to run out end of this season, and then we gave him a 1 year extension for trigger that clause, and then it was always with the view of signing him long term. I'm someone that's always said I reckon that I do really like Wan-Bissaka, but Dalot fits the system so much more. Wan-Bissaka is someone that's 1v1 is one of the best in the world, but just doesn't suit the system. He's just not quite as tidy as Dalot is on the ball. You got, I don't know the exact numbers, but I think Dalot makes around 15 to 20 more passes than him per game. And one buzzword for Ten Hag is control. And you just don't have that when you have Wan-Bissaka compared to Dalot. As well as another thing, his buzzwords is that he loves versatility. And Dalot brings that. We've seen it this season. He can play right back, he can play left back. And even at times he's played wing back, or he's even played in the wing at times. So he's somebody that in the long term benefits us more keeping him. I do think Wan-Bissaka, I think he will go this summer. I think that his stocks are as high now as they've ever been. So if we are to cash in, it would be now. And we have got the links of the likes of Frimpong, who will suit us really well. So I think that although we do Wan-Bissaka, we have to owe him a lot. I think that this season is his last.
Yeah, and for me, that's a massive shame because I think he's played very well when he stepped up. But you could say he's really helped himself out here because the way he's played, he's definitely put himself in the shop window. And, you know, like I said, it's very disappointing that if we do lose Wan-Bissaka, because you think back to when we were played away from Crystal Palace and Zaha was through 1-on-1.
Oh, yeah.
And Wan-Bissaka just got a last-minute tackle. And like you said, Wan-Bissaka is probably one of the best 1-on-1 defenders in the league. But you could definitely say he's put himself in the shop window for better clubs because obviously he was linked back to Crystal Palace and teams like that. But now you could probably definitely say that probably more teams outside of Europe might come after him, which I'd understand because, I mean, you might even think somewhere like Real Madrid because I believe Danny Carvajal is getting on a bit. So he's always going. So, yeah, I wouldn't say so. Anyway, we've got Simon Davis in the comments. I feel Kane is a good player. However, he's not the future, so it's a tricky one for you. And he's also said ain't available, it doesn't matter. And he said he's more versatile than Wan-Bissaka, but I believe he's talking about Diogo Dalot there.
Yeah.
So with obviously we talk about versatility with Wan-Bissaka and Diogo Dalot. We've got some stats here that it does seem that Wan-Bissaka, obviously, like we see from our own eyes, that when it comes to passing, pass types, like chances created and all that stuff, Diogo Dalot is exceeding almost double. But Aaron Wan-Bissaka, it's kind of like the roles are reversed. He's doing the same but defensively. Yeah. So it really depends, and it's kind of like the situation with David De Gea. Like David De Gea, for me, is an exceptional goalkeeper when it comes to shot stopping. Yeah. But again, it's the distribution, it's the coming for crosses. So is it all about, do we keep the players that we know are good for us, or is it all about getting the players that Erik ten Hag wants? And that's for me what it comes down to. So we've hardly spoke before, Ben. So what are your thoughts on David De Gea?
I love him. He's a club legend, but as you mentioned before, it's horses for courses. You don't really know what you're going to get with him. In terms of his shot stopping is second to none. We got the Golden Glove this season, although that was helped by the defenders. There has been times this season where he has bailed us out of games. There's also been times where we saw West Ham, Brentford, Sevilla, where he's cost us at the same time. I think that he's someone that in the long term does need replacing, but in the short term, there is far worse options. It's just, like I said earlier, it depends on how we're going to weigh out our budget. So I think the number 9 is the biggest person we need replacing. And I think goalkeepers, it's probably third or fourth on that list. So it all depends on how much money we feel like we can spend in that position.
Yeah, you're like me then, because I've said that, yes, David De Gea does need replacing, but for me, I won't prioritise the goalkeeper this summer. I would definitely go for a striker midfielder, centre half, and all that stuff, and definitely improve his squad. Because I do feel like it's not like David De Gea isn't good enough. He's won the Golden Glove, despite whether it's for David De Gea's abilities or our defence. You could definitely say, though, that David De Gea can hold his own weight, even though he does have a mistake in him every now and again. But we are linked to a few other players, so we might as well talk about it while we're live. Obviously, we spoke about Ugarte, we spoke about Vlahovic, but we're linked to goalkeepers now, bringing on to the topic of Onana from, is it Inter Milan he's from? Or
he is now, yeah.
Yeah, he's at Inter Milan. I was going to say Ajax then, but I remember him being there. But with all this, what do you think about Onana? Obviously, he's got a catchy name where you can probably hear Old Trafford singing the Onana song.
Yeah, I can hear the chants already.
Exactly. But with Onana, I do think for about 40 million is what being reported. It is quite a bit of a hefty price tag, in my opinion, for Onana. So with the likes of Diogo Costa being valued at about 50 to 60 million, would you rather pay the extra to get a bit more of a quality goalkeeper, or would you say that with the budget that we have, if we were to bring a new goalkeeper in, would you say 40 million is about right?
In terms of the budget option, I'd go with David Raya from Brentford, because of the fact that we've seen he's got quality on the ball. I think he's Brentford's second most passes this season in terms of per game. With his contract running out next season and them saying that he doesn't want to sign a new one, he wants a new challenge, I reckon we can get it for around 20 at most. But the likes of Costa and Onana are very, very good options when it comes to distribution. We've seen Onana can command the box, is a very good shot stopper, similar to Costa, who did struggle at times at the World Cup. Yeah, Brandon knows it. I do love Raya. I'm his biggest fan. But yeah, Costa did struggle at the World Cup, so it is whether he can perform on the big stage, although we did see at times in Europe where he has been very good. Will come with a very hefty price tag. Onana is someone that he's a very, very good goalkeeper, but he's very unpredictable. I mean, we saw him get sent back at the World Cup because he refused to stick with their system, because he just wants to play that high up, which in terms of United, that's how we want him to play. But we also want someone that's going to stick in line with Ten Hag, because we've seen it in the past where if you don't agree with him, you're gone and things won't go well, like we saw with Ronaldo.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I wouldn't say it's just Ronaldo as well. I think that when Erik Ten Hag first joined Manchester United, he was, before he even joined us, he said that he went, I'm only going to join you if you agree that it's my club almost.
Yeah, he wants to control everything.
Exactly. So when Ten Hag's come in, he's pretty much set his philosophy in, he's set his vision, and you see the players with the comments coming out after the awards that everyone seems to be a lot more positive, the quotes that they're saying, and saying that they actually feel like they're on a journey now, like they feel like they're a part of something special. So that's positive in my opinion. So
for sure.
So it's all about positivity, and it's all about just agreeing with Ten Hag almost, because I feel like that. I mean, I think that actually that's when we lost to Brentford 4-0, that was kind of a blessing in disguise when we lost 4-0, because we got absolutely battered, and Erik Ten Hag, with a punishment, he made us run for was it 13 kilometers or something?
It was around like that. It was basically the difference between our team and their team. He made sure that everything they didn't do in the game, that they had to do it. But not only that, he did it with them, which shows that he is there for the unity, and he wants to build not just his squad, but he wants to build a squad for Manchester United. He's definitely the manager that I've seen come in, apart from Ollie, of course, because he was here beforehand, that properly understands the club. And he's definitely probably the person we've got behind the most. Because when you look at Van Gaal, his style just didn't quite suit it. It didn't quite be like a Man United manager. Same with Moyes. Mourinho, at the time, we loved him, but he was never a long-term solution. And Ollie, although we backed him so much because we just wanted it to work, it was never going to work. But whereas Ten Hag, we can see it now, he's got all of this in place, and you can tell that he's the long-term manager for us. That's for sure.
Yeah, and just coming on to the last topic, just before we close off the stream, Ben, you've been absolutely brilliant today, so I really appreciate you coming on. Check out Ben on Twitter. He's been an absolute amazing guest today, and hopefully we can get you on again at some point. But the last bit of news, which has come out today, is that Anthony Elanga has officially been put on United's transfer list, and we are valuing him at 10 million. Now, Ben, I'll let you take this one, but with Elanga, I'll just let you take it away. What are your thoughts on this news?
I think it's been clear from the start of the season pretty much that he isn't in Ten Hag's plans. He's very good in behind, but he's just not tight enough on the ball. We've said a lot in terms of control. That's what Erik Ten Hag likes, and Elanga just won't bring that. He is very good in behind. He's very good he's very quick and he's quite direct and similar to the likes of Garnacho, but he's just not there. I think that it was always destined for him to go, but the fact that it's 10 million is just nowhere near enough. We're so bad at selling players. When you've got the likes of Anthony Gordon go for 50 million, he should be around half that, if not more.
Yeah, I agree on that sense. I mean, Anthony Elanga, I mean, I put a tweet on, I'll have to try and get it up on screen when I'm editing this video.
Yeah.
But with, I put when Garnacho made his debut for United, I put on Twitter that Garnacho's already more exciting than Elanga, and I got absolute pelters for it.
Yeah.
But like, obviously, as time's gone on, Garnacho has proven. But I feel sorry for Elanga in a way, because I'm going to do a video tomorrow on the rise and fall of Anthony Elanga, because he came in a time that United were absolutely in the mud, and Rangnick brought him through the youth academy, and obviously we already knew that Elanga wasn't ready, but his development's kind of been like Van der Beek's almost, where he's come in, he did a job when he first started, but then he's just been completely neglected from the team, which is a disappointment, because these players have been all right at times. But again, for me, I've said that this season that Elanga should have gone out on loan and learned his trade, kind of like how Ahmad's gone and done.
For sure,
and now a lot of the fans are now raving about Ahmad probably coming back to United, so hopefully if we don't sell Elanga and he does go on loan, then maybe he could kind of revive his career. But I feel like as well, that because he's still so young, I think he's only 21, coming up to 22 now.
21, 22, yeah.
Yeah, so he's definitely, I think, needs to get a new place of scenery, and whether that's a loan or whether that's a permanent deal. But to Ben, just to ask you, what would you say would be the perfect club for Anthony Elanga if we were to sell him?
Weirdly, as I mentioned, Anthony Gordon, I think he'd fit in really well at Everton, because he can scrap a little bit, but as you've said as well, he's really direct. And Everton are a type of side, especially under Sean Dyche, where they're going to put 7 men behind the ball and they have the other 3 leaving forwards. So I feel like with him, he'd probably suit like an Everton style quite well. That or maybe Palace, but it wouldn't be someone that's probably top half. It will be someone that they can utilize his pace and his directness for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for me, I personally feel like that he'd probably do really well at Crystal Palace if Zaha leaves. I feel like that'd be a quite good replacement. Elise, Eze, and Elanga, I think that would be quite a dangerous front three, in my opinion. But with Anthony Elanga, like we've said, he's quite direct, and I feel like that 10 million for me is way too low for the player, especially when you've got players like Anthony Gordon leaving for 50 million. But again, Anthony Gordon, I've never rated. I don't think he's a very good player, and I don't think that he'll have a very successful career at Newcastle, in my opinion. I think he will get offloaded when they do start getting further into the Champions League, probably.
For sure. I mean, they're already looking at replacing with Diaby.
Exactly, yeah. So Diaby for me, didn't he play for Bayern Leverkusen? Is that where he plays? Yeah. So Diaby's, he's an absolute rat on FIFA if you do play FIFA, Ben.
For sure. He's mental. Yeah.
He's a nightmare. If there's anything like that, especially like his team this season, it'd be an absolute curtains.
Definitely.
But honestly, Ben, thank you so much for joining, George. Just
been a pleasure.
Let everyone know where we can find you.
Yeah, you'll see the handle just below there. It'll be Just Another Football Fan. It's check out my Twitter. I post a lot of stats and anything to do with United, really. Awesome, pal. Well, thank you so much for joining. Everyone, thank you for commenting. And Ben, thank you for your fan club as well. Hopefully they're here again at some point. We'll stick around, don't worry. Yeah, so guys, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Make sure you be here tomorrow, where we'll go live again at 7:30 about the most breaking news. But we'll probably be doing the match preview for for the City and United game, last game of the season for us. So hopefully we can do a win. So Ben, if you want to be a part of that, obviously you're more than welcome to. And we do have one of my mates coming on who is also a City fan, who, that'll be quite interesting to get at the rivals perspective on the game as well. For sure, yeah. But honestly, everyone, thank you for watching. Brando, thank you for commenting, pal. Nice to see you join the Red Devils family. And Simon Davis, as always, thank you for commenting. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care, guys.